All right, everybody, who's ready for some more music? The Battle of the Bands, part of Westside Daze, continuing right here in the park. I'm Alicia from K96.3, Kelowna's Classic Rock. All right, so our next band, these guys are locals. They are going to rock you. They've got some great new music out right now, including their latest single, The Comeback Kid. Let's give it up for Dying Breed!
Show day. I'm out here having my morning coffee on the deck in the sun. Starting to get into that mindset of what we're going to be doing today and how everything's going to go.
At some point, feeling super blessed, ready to rock some great fucking music with some great fucking guys, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty busy day. A lot of driving and a lot of back and forth, but I think we're going to make it happen. And yeah, hopefully we're going to rock the crowd.
Oh my gosh, it's just so good, and I am fucking stoked!
Dakota Nevins, guitarist.
I'm Rory Ormiston, lead vocals.
Jamie Spencer, bass guitar.
Stefan Gilbert, drums.
Diet bread! Diet bread! So I had this band van, this big old white plumber's van, and me and my landlord at the time, we had a couple of pops and decided to spray paint our band logo on the side of the van. And I'm not a very good painter. So we spray painted Dying Breed on the side of my van, and it just looked horrible. And then I'm driving into my complex where I live, and this little kid comes up to me and is like, "What's diet bread?" We thought Dying Breed said diet bread. And so that's our second band name, Diet Bread. Yeah. Punkest name out there.
Right, kill it.
It all kind of started in high school for me, I guess, for me and Rory. He would go around to parties and I would catch him freestyling. Just random spots, random nights. And I always kind of bugged and pried him that he should start a band and kind of be a lead singer or a rapper or something, and he just did it for fun.
When we graduated, we both kind of got together and started playing acoustic guitar together and realized we liked the same kind of music. And it all just blossomed from there.
It wasn't until after high school that I again approached Rory and was like, "Hey man, think I'm gonna start a band, and I'd really like someone with your voice to come on board for it." And thankfully, he said yes to it.
Let the bullets fly like in love.
He worked at Kelowna Chrysler, where we're doing this interview at the time, and that's where I met Stefan.
I first met Dakota, and we talked about music all the time. He was playing with guys, and they were jamming, and I had always asked him, we should really get together. I've been from the States in Canada for a few years, and I was really wanting to just told him, let's just get together and jam. That's all. We're not to form a band. Let's just jam.
I remember the first time I met Steve, he was playing a piece of crap electric drum kit in Dakota's living room, and we just started jamming, and it went really well. And
Personally, I thought Stefan was a little old for the band, and I wasn't sure if he'd fit the image. And then he brought up some clips from his Bride days. He was in a band back in the 80s called Bride. He was with a couple bands that made it pretty big, but Bride was a big one. And he showed me a couple of videos, and instantly I was like, oh boy, this guy's actually really good. We started looking for a bassist, and at that time I had moved on from Kelowna Chrysler over to Wentworth Music. And one day Jamie walked in with his bass and said he was here for a bass lesson, and I asked if he was in a band, and he said no. And I asked if he wanted to be in a band, and he kind of hummed and hawed.
Yeah, I got a link from him from Spotify, went home and listened, and I was like, wow, these guys are pretty good. If anything, I was a little apprehensive because I was a little worried that I wasn't good enough to join the band, but Dakota said to me, hey, just listen to the songs and kind of see what you think.
And we had a rehearsal 4 days later on the Sunday, and Jamie showed up, and he knew all of the songs. Everything from the EP, every line, and we all looked at each other, and we didn't even have to make the decision.
Yeah, and then Jamie just brought a whole different vibe to us, which, that elevated us as well.
I watched this Japanese kind of cartoon, anime, I guess it would be. There was a band in this show called Dying Breed, and they were this big band that came from America to Japan, and these high school kids really looked up to these guys and thought they were super epic. And basically, I just loved the name Dying Breed. I thought it was the coolest band name ever. And I thought it kind of suited the way I felt about the whole music industry, rock music in general, kind of on the downturn in the limelight. And so that was the name. I thought that's got to be the name.
The influences of the band are kind of varying.
I think it started a lot with kind of wanting to be the rock rap kind of sound.
I'd say we all have our own little genres and certain things that we listen to that definitely come through in our music.
It's a lot of rock and roll, a lot of driving, a lot of that 90s grunge kind of sound, and you're going to get those nice vocals behind it. We have elevated since Unchained.
Yeah, just it was a combo of rap and I guess grunge, and then as soon as Jamie came on board,
he really brought the funk rhythm section. I think that's really the bread and butter, and what makes us decent is his contribution to that funky low end.
Yeah, it's really hard to nail down, but yeah, fun as fuck is definitely how I would describe what we do.
the creative process It kind of varies sometimes. I think personally we write our best music when we're in the moment and in the flow of things, and it's kind of all improvised.
Is mayhem. Like there's no structure for me. I mean, we're jamming and we're just pulling stuff from the universe, whatever you want to say. And it just ends up a song.
The last song that we came out with, Come Back Kid, that definitely didn't come from a jam. So far, I'd say that was kind of the hardest song that we've put out because it was very structured, and so that song is a lot different from what we put out previously, just purely because of how we structured it.
But honestly, most of the time, it's the boys are jamming, and I'm just feeling it, having a good time, and just the chorus comes out of my mouth. I just start saying random stuff. Something comes out that we like. We just rinse and repeat, keep playing it, and the song just becomes a song.
Improvising in the moment and just jamming together is when we capture our best moments, and we like to go back on those recordings and kind of pick pieces in and out and kind of build on top of those.
The biggest challenge that we faced, I guess, was when we broke up.
Ooh, that one gets deep.
We broke up for a year, reasons,
That was through the times of COVID, and we had some personal disagreements, and yeah, admittedly, myself and Dakota were kind of mostly at fault for that time when we kind of parted ways.
I think it rambled everybody's feelings towards everybody. There was a lot of friendships and relationships through that time for everybody across the world that kind of, got ruined or kind of got brought back to life.
Yeah, there's definitely some darker times and some things that were said that weren't pleasant on all ends all ends of the band.
Well, during COVID, we all kind of bumped heads and kind of had different beliefs, which is normal to have. And one day, I think it was actually me that made the comment, and I don't remember what it was, but it was about COVID and about how I wasn't happy with it, and I thought that I should go rampant, we should just get it over with. Well, at the time, Jamie's family was going through some health issues, and I wasn't very aware of that, we'll say, and I should have been a little bit more sensitive. Anyway, what was said, and Jamie texted the group one day and just said he was done. He was finished, he wanted out, couldn't do it anymore, and I begged and pleaded for him to at least come out for a beer with me, and just so I could understand why he was going to make this decision.
Breaking up it sucked a lot, but I think the biggest stress from being in a band is, the thoughts that come in, like, is this worth it? Like, am I spending all this money and all this time for nothing? With any creative process, I think a lot of people struggle with that. And
I personally had to look back on myself and the things I did wrong, and I'm grateful for that breakup because it made me kind of sit in a hole and make me become a better person, I guess.
In the same vein, I think that was the best accomplishment is being able to settle our differences and come back together and speak about things in an adult way and really kind of understand each other rather than just being pieces of the puzzle that makes a band.
There's no reason to get into that, but it just happened, and we got back together in a good way, and we wrote a song and recorded it within, I think, 3-4 months after we got back together, after being nothing for a year. We didn't speak to each other. We didn't do anything. We were out of contact, and it happens. What do you just go, and it came back around, and I'm super stoked about it. I think majority of the masses are.
But yeah, that slow reconciliation was very fulfilling. I don't think there's really a better way to explain it, and I'm just so glad that we did get back together, and yeah, that's a pretty good accomplishment in my books.
I definitely think that we're pretty out there.
Certain people know about us that know certain people that think we're a good band, right? I think we definitely.
Yeah, I think Kelowna's got a lot going on in terms of the music scene, so it's kind of difficult to break through. But in the same vein, Kelowna's small town with that big town mentality, so like people know each other, right? Even if you don't necessarily listen to each other's bands, you know that face and you know they're part of this band. Like,
Yeah, well,
yeah, I don't know.
we've done a lot of media coverage, like local media coverage, which is a good sign that like
we're hooped out, right? We were on.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say that we're unknown
No.
in the community
I don't
by any means, but
yeah.
I wouldn't say either that we're like.
there's not a lot of big bands here that aren't cover bands.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right?
Maybe a handful.
The thing I noticed the most about the music like industry here is there's a lot of competition,
Yeah.
but a lot of the competition is very friendly.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
everybody
It's not
helps
cutthroat.
each other. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
everybody
not
helps each
cutthroat.
other out.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the same contest with each other, whatever, it's still
Yeah.
one big family. There's been a few. We've opened for some pretty cool bands. We've gotten some pretty cool opportunities. But I think the most rewarding one for me actually happened on this past Canada Day.
Some like teenager at one of our shows came up to us and asked for like an autographed CD.
And I wasn't even ready. My autograph is like chicken scratch, so I got to work on that. But it was by far, it was a split moment, but you felt like a rock star. You felt so big in that moment.
That was so cool because, you know, all of my favorite bands, they're all gone. Like all my favorite singers are dead. I can't go see them anymore. And, you know, I'm really stoked that kid got to come up and be like, oh, I really like your guys' music, and got a cool signed CD from it.
I could go back to 1989 and, you know, I could do that if I wanted to. So, you know, we record a song, it's called the Dove Awards for the Christian metal rock market. And we were nominated for a Dove Award, our very first album we ever did. I was, 21 years old. So as far as, most one, well, yeah, that's great. But my definite next one is meeting these guys in Dying Breed with Dakota, with Rory, with Jamie. This is something that I did not have with that band back in the day. It's just more. Is it better or worse? I'm not saying that. Just I didn't have this what we have here, and it's really unique. And I am favored every day that I get to come here and do this kind of thing with these guys. It's really, really good in my book.
Obviously, the work that I've done with the guys and the multiple songs that we've recorded together, they all hold a certain spot in my heart as a highlight of my own musical career. But I definitely think the biggest highlight has been 2 years playing the Canada Day shows. Just to have that opportunity to play in front of the crowd, the mountains, the lake, just everything about it, the production, the amount of work that those guys in the background put into it before we even step up and go out there and play. I mean, it's mind-boggling, the amount of work and the amount of dedication that goes into it from every different direction. And yeah, that for me, so far at least, will be top of my list. Yeah, those 2 years that we played the Canada Day shows, just amazing.
Cabin trip.
The cabin trip will always be a forever memory of mine.
In the first year that we were together, we booked a trip to a little cabin, and it was in this super quiet area just outside of Soyuz, I think it was. We went down there, we brought all of our gear with us, and we just planned to have an amazing time. And if we could play music, great. If not, no worries. So we got there, and it's this tiny little cabin on this lake. It's beautiful, it's picturesque, but the owners were these two super old, they seemed really strict. They just seemed like not the type of people who would be into four guys, you know, having a bunch of fun in this tiny cabin.
They were kind of complaining about how like previous tenants were shitty, and we were kind of like, oh, we want to get like, you know, get drunk and play rock music really loud in their chalet. And so we were just kind of like, we just won't do it. And then I was like, nah, screw it.
So he runs over and he goes chatting with them, and you know, me, Steve, and Dakota are like, man, we're gonna get kicked out. They're gonna say no. They're gonna have a problem.
I kind of fed this some BS. I was like, hey, we're like this traveling like cover band, and you know, we're super tired, and we were wondering if like, you know, if we wanted to have a little jam and practice tonight instead of tomorrow, if we could play some music. And they were just kind of like, oh yeah, like our neighbor was pissing us off last month. Like just set up outside and just crank it.
He comes sprinting back, the biggest grin on his face. We can play! We can play! So that was it. We set up outside. I think it was like 35 or 40 degrees. It was crazy hot. But we set up outside on this patio in front of this tiny cabin, and we played out to the United States border. Mountains, no one around, echoing through the valley. We're just giving her.
At the end of that night, we actually shot a video, and I've sent it out a few times, because it was back when me, Jamie, Rory, and Dakota all went to the cabin, and we were just shit-pissed, drunk, high. We were just having a great time on the water. And we did a little video of, you know, introducing ourselves as the band members.
Fire. Ice. I'm Rory from Dime Breed. I said...
Spawn drums, Dying Breed. What's up?
Dakota, Dying Breed, guitarist, steamrolling.
Jamie, Dying Breed, also steamrolling, bassist. Makes a fucking bomb-ass stew.
And it's just a really fun time. I'll never forget that time with the guys. And of course, you know, we recorded music there that weekend. We set up in the woods and played across the U.S. border, Canada border. It was just great. The fishing sucked, of course. They wouldn't even let us fish for some reason. I don't know. How do I handle it? Well, no one likes bad criticism.
No, I think for an up-and-coming band, it's super important to get feedback. And I actually think most bands don't really get.
Myself personally, I don't love every single song that I listen to by every single band, and I'm sure everyone else is going to be the same. You've got to really, you know, take that into consideration that some people aren't going to like your music.
Because the thing is like when you first start a band, your first fans are like your mom and like your closest friends. And I really, for me, to take the feedback from people that are so close to me is sometimes not really the best feedback, because, you know, sometimes they're going to sugarcoat it for you.
I think there's a difference between criticism and just not being very nice. Criticism's always welcomed. I think the other guys in the band would agree with that if people have got a good idea or they've heard one of our demos or, you know, heard something that we're working on and they think that something would sound better a different way or there's a different idea that could work better, we're all for hearing it.
I think the best feedback is like if you play a local gig and you have a complete stranger come up to you and say, yo, I really like this, but you guys messed up here, you should work on that. Like that's probably the best feedback you're going to get.
But when people are being negative and somewhat nasty about things for no apparent reason, that's kind of where I'd put the fingers up and give them a good British fuck you.
It's, you know, I don't give negative, positive. I mean, I'll give criticism if I'm asked. I won't just do it just to give criticism. But yeah, I just go with it. You know what you do, and I do know what I do, and the guys I play with know what they're doing. So I hope they don't take criticism either, because it's you know, you're doing what you do and you're loving what you're doing. So criticism is you know, that's as broad as it is long. I don't feed into that kind of stuff. So I just do me.
Yeah, man. Drunk people coming in the back of our shows, giving feedback. Super fun. You know, I'm a typical singer. I'm in the band. I am the worst for maintaining a balance. And I live in another city, so, you know, often I'm late. I feel personally that those guys put in more effort than I do.
It's tough. You know, every Sunday you've got that dedication to be here. Show nights. It's not just rocking up and playing. It's the getting here, getting all the equipment, playing the show, tearing down, coming back here, dropping everything off.
And I feel bad. I feel bad I don't put as much effort in as they do. Because they do put in a lot of effort. I'm trying to get better at balancing it, but for me, I'm having a lot of fun. I don't really put a lot of thought into, you know, if we're going to be famous or if this is going to sound like top 100 perfect sound quality. You know, I've kind of had to give that away because it's just too stressful. I can't handle it. There's way too much shit going on in the world and in all of our lives.
A band is kind of like being with someone. It's you know, it's dedication, it's support, and you have to do that to I think to really make it and fully feel what it is like to play in a real fucking band.
I'm very lucky that my wife is understanding that I really love what I do, and I have a lot of desire to, you know, to be here and do this. So I'm very lucky in that way that she respects that, and you know, that she understands these nights when I'm not home until 3 o'clock in the morning after playing a show. She gets it. But yeah, again, I think she would definitely say I'm very guilty of struggling to find that balance.
My favorite song to play live, I think it's got to be Coming Alive. I just like the flow of that song. It's just his bass line in that song is just so fun.
And for me, Comeback Kid, when we're going into the outro, when we're just ripping the outro, man, that we work so hard on, like,
yeah.
One more time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't get asked first, but yeah, I mean, CBK is just, even that roll I fucking do that song. It's just, it's a poem.
That roll, yeah.
I remember when we first listened to that. Yeah.
The song McKinley is about a friend of mine that I lost to suicide, and
You think we'll stop a second?
no, we're good. Couple tears, no big deal. But yeah, the song McKinley was made for my friend Jordan and pretty much anybody else that was going through the mental health crisis that's happening throughout the whole world right now. For goals, personally and the band, my biggest number one would be writing an album. That's always been a bucket list item for me. And to have this good of people in the same room with this good of chemistry and not to do a project like that, I think I would regret later in my life.
So right now, we're still working away on recording. We're working away on tracking and writing. We definitely feel that the next step for us is an album.
We got a few songs that are like finished and ready to release. So we're going to have songs coming out over the next year.
As for like a collaboration, I think I think it would be really cool. It's hard to collaborate with other artists when you're a rock group because you don't usually do that. But I've always thought it would be cool to find a local rapper of some sort, and kind of not collaborate as musicians, but collaborate as genres.
The plan over the next year, we're going to put together a 6 to 12 song album and do a full release for it. Maybe do a music video for one of the songs. And yeah, just keep on playing dive bars and golf course wedding gigs, I guess.
For a venue, I would say for sure my number one bucket list venue would be the VAT in Red Deer, and or BC Place in Vancouver, because that's, I don't know, that's the place. I feel like once we get there, we made it.
The message that I want to convey is love and fun and happiness and yeah, just being part of a family and feeling that warmth that comes along with that kind of stuff.
If there was one message I would like to portray in our music or as a band, as a group, it would be call your friends, call your family.
Time cuts like a knife. You can try, there's no rewind. Couldn't help free your mind. Only a suicide. Time to wake up! Time to wake up! He won't wake up, never woke up.